I watched them laugh as she scrubbed floors, calling her just another street kid with ink. They had no idea the dragon tattoo on her arm wasn't just body art. It was a mark of honor from the most elite military unit in the world. Their mockery was about to backfire spectacularly. I still get chills thinking about that Tuesday morning when everything I thought I knew about judging people got turned completely upside down. You know those moments that stick with you forever? This is one of them. Before I tell you what happened, smash that like button if you love stories where bullies get exactly what they deserve, and subscribe because what you're about to hear will blow your mind. It was week 3 of basic training at Fort Kellerman, and let me tell you, that place could break anyone. The Georgia heat was suffocating, the drill sergeants were relentless, and every single day felt like a test of how much abuse you could take before cracking. I thought I'd seen it all by then. I was wrong. That's when she walked in. Her name was Riley, and from the moment she stepped off that bus, she was different. Not in a good way. At least, that's what everyone thought. She was this quiet, almost fragile-looking girl with shoulder-length dark hair that she kept pulled back tight. But what really caught everyone's attention were the tattoos. And I mean everyone's attention. Most of us had maybe a small piece here or there, something we could easily hide. But Riley? Her arms were covered in ink, intricate designs that snaked from her wrists all the way up past her sleeves. The one that really stood out was this massive dragon on her left forearm. It wasn't like those cheap tattoos you see people get on a dare. This thing was art. The detail was incredible, with scales that seemed to shimmer and eyes that looked almost alive. The dragon was coiled around what looked like some kind of military insignia, but I couldn't make it out clearly. The other recruits started whispering immediately. "Look at this one," someone muttered behind me. "Straight from the streets." Another voice chimed in, "Bet she won't last a week." I hate to admit it, but I was thinking the same thing. In that environment, you learn to size people up fast, and Riley looked like she didn't belong. That's when Sergeant Kane noticed her. If you've never met someone who genuinely enjoys making other people miserable, consider yourself lucky. Kane was that type of person, wrapped in a drill sergeant's uniform. He was this stocky guy with a permanent scowl and cold gray eyes that seemed to look for weakness like a predator hunting prey. When he saw Riley standing there in her crisp new uniform, trying to blend in with the rest of us, something lit up in those eyes. Not in a good way. "Well, well, well," Kane said, his voice carrying that particular tone that made everyone's stomach drop. "Looks like we got ourselves an artist." He walked slowly toward Riley, his boots clicking against the concrete with each deliberate step. The entire formation went dead silent. You could practically feel 40 people holding their breath. Riley stood perfectly still, eyes forward, not even flinching as Kane circled her like a shark. "You think this is some kind of art gallery, recruit?" he barked. "You think those pretty pictures make you special?" I watched Riley's face, expecting to see fear or anger or something, but there was nothing, just this calm, almost serene expression. It was like she'd been through this before, like she knew exactly what was coming and had already accepted it. "Drop and give me 50, Kane ordered. "And while you're down there, maybe you can think about whether those tattoos are going to help you when the real fighting starts." As Riley dropped to the ground and started her push-ups, I heard the snickers starting. Someone whispered, "Ink girl," just loud enough for others to hear. Another voice said, "Street trash," with just enough venom to make it sting. And through it all, Riley just kept doing her push-ups, counting them off in a steady, controlled voice that never wavered. That dragon tattoo flexed and moved with each push-up, and I found myself staring at it. There was something about it that didn't fit with the rest of the picture, something important that I was missing. I had no idea I was watching one of the most decorated soldiers in the entire United States military get humiliated by a man who wasn't fit to shine her boots. The next few weeks were absolutely brutal to watch. What started as typical drill sergeant harassment quickly spiraled into something much darker, and I found myself caught between wanting to help Riley and protecting my own skin. You know that sick feeling you get when you watch someone getting picked on, and you do nothing? That was eating me alive every single day. Kane had made Riley his personal project. Every morning formation, she'd get singled out for uniform infractions that didn't exist. Extra kitchen duty while the rest of us got free time. Bathroom cleaning with a toothbrush while everyone else was at chow. It was relentless, and the worst part was watching the other recruits join in. "There goes Dragon Girl," they'd whisper when she walked by. "Bet she's regretting those tattoos now." Someone started leaving cleaning supplies on her bunk as a joke. Another recruit would purposely bump into her in the chow line, spilling food on her uniform so she'd get written up for being unsatisfactory. But here's what really got to me. Riley never fought back, not once. And trust me, there were plenty of opportunities. During combat training, I noticed things about her that didn't add up. Her stance was too perfect, her movements too precise. When we practiced hand-to-hand combat, she'd let other recruits win against her, but I caught glimpses of techniques that were way beyond basic training level. One afternoon during weapons training, our instructor was struggling to demonstrate a rifle assembly. Riley stepped forward slightly, like she was about to help, then caught herself and stepped back. But I saw her hands move in the exact motions needed to field strip that rifle in under 10 seconds. Who learns that kind of muscle memory without serious training? The dragon tattoo fascinated me more every day. During PT, when her sleeves rolled up, I could see more details. There were numbers woven into the design, coordinates maybe, and that military insignia I'd noticed before. It wasn't like anything I recognized from our basic training materials. It was more elaborate, more official looking. Then came the day that everything started to unravel. Kane had been in a particularly foul mood all week. Word was going around that some big-shot officers were coming for an inspection, and he was taking his stress out on everyone, but mostly on Riley. "Listen up, maggots!" Kane screamed during morning formation. "We've got VIPs coming to evaluate this sorry excuse for a training unit. That means everything better be perfect, and I mean everything." His eyes landed on Riley like a heat-seeking missile. "Especially you, street art. You're gonna spend today making sure every bathroom on this base sparkles." I watched Riley's jaw tighten almost imperceptibly. It was the first crack I'd seen in her armor since she'd arrived. Something about the timing of this punishment, with the inspection coming, seemed to bother her more than usual. "With a toothbrush," Kane added with obvious satisfaction, "in front of everyone. Maybe that'll teach you what real military discipline looks like." The bathroom was right next to the main courtyard where everyone would be gathering for the inspection. Kane had positioned this perfectly. Maximum humiliation at the worst possible time. As Riley knelt on the cold tile floor, scrubbing with that tiny toothbrush while dozens of other recruits filed past, the comments got uglier. "Look at the tough girl now," someone laughed. "All that ink and she's still on her knees scrubbing toilets." Another voice added, "Bet she wishes she'd stayed in whatever gutter she crawled out of." That's when Kane crossed a line he should never have crossed. "You're moving too slow, recruit," he bellowed, even though Riley was working faster than humanly reasonable. "Maybe this will motivate you." And before anyone could react, his hand flew across her face with a crack that echoed through the entire bathroom. The silence that followed was deafening. Riley's head had snapped to the side from the impact, and for just a moment, I saw something flash in her eyes. It wasn't fear or hurt. It was the look of someone calculating exactly how many ways she could destroy the person in front of her. Then, just as quickly, that look disappeared, replaced by that same calm mask she always wore. But I knew what I'd seen. This wasn't some street kid learning military discipline. This was a predator choosing not to strike. The question was why, and I had a feeling we were all about to find out. The morning of the inspection, you could cut the tension with a knife. Kane had every recruit polished to perfection, barking orders like his career depended on it, which, as it turned out, it actually did. Riley stood in formation with the rest of us, but I noticed she kept tugging at her sleeves, making sure that dragon tattoo was completely covered. For someone who'd endured weeks of abuse without flinching, she seemed genuinely nervous for the first time. "VIPs arrive in 10 minutes," Kane shouted. "I don't want to see a single screw-up or you'll all be scrubbing latrines until Christmas." That's when the black sedans pulled up. 3 vehicles, flags on the front, the kind of official convoy that makes everyone straighten their spine instinctively. Out stepped several high-ranking officers. But the one who commanded immediate attention was General Harrison. Even from across the courtyard, this man radiated authority. Silver-haired, ramrod straight, with ribbons on his chest that told stories of battles most of us had only read about. The inspection started routinely enough. General Harrison moved down the line, Kane trailing behind him like an eager puppy, pointing out improvements he'd made to the training program. I was focused on standing perfectly still when I heard Kane's voice change. "And this recruit here represents the challenges we face with today's youth, sir. Came in with significant disciplinary issues, but we're breaking her down to build her back up properly." I couldn't see Riley's face, but I watched General Harrison stop dead in his tracks. His entire demeanor shifted in a heartbeat. The casual inspection posture disappeared, replaced by something much more intense. "What did you say, Sergeant?" The general's voice was quiet, but it carried the kind of authority that made everyone within 50 feet pay attention. Kane, oblivious to the danger he was walking into, puffed up with pride. "This recruit, sir." Classic case of street mentality thinking tattoos and attitude could substitute for real military bearing. "We've been conducting intensive corrective training." General Harrison stepped directly in front of Riley. "Look at me, soldier." Riley raised her eyes to meet his, and I swear something passed between them. Recognition. The general's face went through about 10 different expressions in 2 seconds: surprise, disbelief, and then something that looked like barely contained fury. "Roll up your left sleeve," he ordered, his voice deadly calm. "Sir, regulations clearly state—" Kane started to interrupt. "Shut up!" The general's voice exploded across the courtyard like thunder. Every single person froze. I'd never heard an officer lose control like that, and frankly, it was terrifying. Riley slowly rolled up her sleeve, revealing that magnificent dragon tattoo in its full glory. General Harrison stared at it for what felt like an eternity, then did something that made my blood run cold. He saluted her. A 3-star general was saluting a recruit. Kane's face went white. "Sir, I don't understand—" "That tattoo," General Harrison said, his voice carrying across the now silent courtyard, "is the mark of the Shadow Dragons, the most elite special operations unit in the United States military." He turned to face Kane directly, and if looks could kill, that sergeant would have been vaporized on the spot. "This recruit you've been correcting is Captain Riley Chen, Medal of Honor recipient, 2 silver stars, Purple Heart with 3 clusters, each word hit like a physical blow. She's here on a classified assignment, evaluating training protocols and base security." The world seemed to tilt sideways. Every snicker, every cruel comment, every moment of humiliation suddenly took on a completely different meaning. We hadn't been watching some street kid get broken down. We'd been watching a decorated war hero conduct the most patient undercover operation I'd ever seen. Kane was stammering, his face cycling through panic, confusion, and dawning horror. "But sir, I had no idea. Her records showed—" "Her records showed exactly what they were supposed to show," General Harrison cut him off. "Because unlike you, Sergeant, Captain Chen understands what operational security means." Riley finally spoke, and her voice was nothing like the quiet recruit we'd known. It carried command authority that made even the general listen. "Permission to speak freely, sir." "Always, Captain." Riley looked directly at Kane, and that predator's smile I'd glimpsed in the bathroom was back in full force. "Mission accomplished, sir. I have everything I need for my report." Kane's career had just ended, and he was the last person in the formation to realize it. What happened next was the most beautiful destruction of a bully I've ever witnessed in my life. General Harrison's voice cut through the stunned silence like a blade. "Captain Chen, would you care to share your preliminary findings with Sergeant Kane here?" Riley stepped forward, and it was like watching a completely different person emerge. Gone was the quiet, submissive recruit we'd tormented for weeks. In her place stood a decorated officer whose very presence commanded respect. When she spoke, every word was measured, precise, and absolutely devastating. Physical assault on a subordinate, multiple violations of anti-hazing protocols, creation of a hostile environment that endangered unit cohesion and mission readiness. She paused, letting each charge sink in, and complete failure to recognize obvious operational security concerns when presented with a soldier displaying advanced combat techniques. Kane was visibly shaking now. Sweat poured down his face as he realized the magnitude of what he'd done. "Captain, please, I had no way of knowing." "You had every way of knowing, Sergeant." Riley cut him off, her voice steel-cold. "A competent leader pays attention to their soldiers. Notices when someone demonstrates skills beyond their supposed experience level. Questions why a street kid can field strip a rifle faster than your weapons instructor." I felt sick thinking about every moment I'd watched this happen and done nothing. Around me, other recruits were having the same realization. The weight of our collective cowardice was crushing. General Harrison stepped closer to Kane, and his voice dropped to a whisper that somehow felt more terrifying than any shout. 30 years I've known Captain Chen. She volunteered for the most dangerous missions our country has ever run, places so classified I can't even tell you their names. And you made her scrub toilets with a toothbrush." Kane tried to speak, but no words came out. The man who'd seemed so powerful, so in control, was falling apart before our eyes. "Effective immediately," General Harrison continued. "You're stripped of rank and transferred to the most remote posting I can find. You'll spend the rest of your abbreviated career wondering if the soldiers under your command are who they appear to be, because clearly you have no to tell the difference." But Riley wasn't done. She turned to address the entire formation, and when she spoke, it was with the voice of someone who'd earned the right to be heard. "For 3 weeks, you watched someone you thought was weaker get systematically abused, and none of you said a word. That tells me more about your character than any training exercise ever could." Her eyes swept across every face. "The military isn't just about following orders. It's about protecting those who can't protect themselves. You all failed that test." The silence was deafening. 40 future soldiers stood there realizing they'd revealed the worst parts of themselves to someone whose approval they should have been earning. Then something unexpected happened. Riley's expression softened slightly. "But here's what I also learned," she continued. "Most of you aren't cruel by nature. You're followers. You saw someone else being targeted and decided it was safer to join in than stand up. That's human nature. But it's not what we need in our military." She looked directly at me, and I felt like she could see right through to my soul. "The good news is that recognizing a problem is the first step to fixing it. My report will recommend comprehensive changes to training protocols, starting with mandatory bystander intervention training. Because in real combat, there are no observers. There are only soldiers who have each other's backs, and those who don't." As the formation was dismissed and the officials prepared to leave, I found myself walking over to Riley. My heart was pounding, but I had to say something. "Captain," I managed to get out. "I'm sorry. I should have done something." She studied me for a moment, then nodded. "You're doing something now?" "That's what matters." As she walked away, I caught one last glimpse of that dragon tattoo. Now I understood what it really represented. Not just elite military service, but the willingness to endure anything to protect others and uncover the truth. If this story of hidden strength and ultimate justice left you speechless, smash that like button right now. Share it with someone who needs to remember that you should never judge people by their appearance. And hit subscribe because we've got more incredible stories where karma delivers exactly what bullies deserve. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.